just like my class.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Since you're teaching, trying to bring this into the classroom for young teachers, I know that in our district, as I have a college student who's getting ready to graduate, and I also have a third grader, and I know how these teachers are very curriculum bound. They are not school teaching, but they are teaching in classrooms where everything is being taught exactly the same by every teacher on the same day throughout the whole district. What do you recommend to these young teachers to bring this into their room and how to do it when we're against it?
Right. You're absolutely right. That's one of the ways. I'm going to reveal a bias here that will probably shock the world. This is one of the ways that corporate America runs things, is we teach everybody exactly the same thing, so we can manipulate what it is you know and don't know. So you're absolutely right. So one of the things that we do have to do is continually begin to find ways to subtly resist that. But you can't, like, when Sydney goes out to be a teacher next year for the first time, she can't say, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want, what I know is right, because then what she is an unemployed teacher, So you find ways to deal with it. The little things you can begin to do are, so far they haven't scripted what you can put up on your wall. So you begin to put up faces that look different than everybody in the room. Okay? Exactly. All those additional reading books that are there, you stock that with a plethora of different types of things. You find little stories, and again, this is something that comes as you grow as a teacher anyway. So, my first year I was pretty much reading the book because I just didn't know. As I learned the material, I could freeform a little bit more from that. And what you do is begin to have, as those little add-ons that you drop other culture points. Okay? So it's interesting. I think that's one of the ways you can do it. But that again stresses why we as communities need to begin to pressure our school boards to not adopt this page one, day one mentality. Now, also part of that is behind, besides just making factories of students, what's also behind that is this desire to be able to test people, the standardized test. A standardized test in and of itself is not a bad thing. A standardized test based on facts is horrific. Because if I get to decide which facts are important, which are the ones on the test, then I get to determine the culture. So if all the facts on my test are about European culture, guess who's important? So, but if I can begin to create it, then you can create standardized tests on procedures. So that I'm testing, can they think about something? I don't care what it is you found out. What I care is the process you used to get there. And I can standardize that. But it takes work and it takes time. And I think most state legislatures have proven that they're not interested in either one of those things. So that's what we've got to begin to push, is for people to say, I want quality, but what we're getting right now isn't quality. What we're getting is automaton. And that's incredibly terrible. Other questions? Rob?
As an educator remaining static in a school district, how does one enroll as an effective ally while keeping up with the ever-evolving subjective experience of the student body?
That's a key piece, and it's not easy to do. I think part of the advantage for me was I had Malcolm all the time, who was more than willing to tell me where I had gone wrong. But I remember when I first started teaching, I had to find out about Power Rangers, Pokemon, and Big Time Wrestling. Because when I was teaching at an all-boys Catholic school, that was it. Okay? And I'll tell you, one of the highlights of my career is in 1985, 86, I met Andre the Giant. And I became a hero at school because I had shook the hand of Andre the Giant, which, by the way, made my hand disappear. So, you know, it's why I listen to music, you know, and I would start every year and tell my students I love all kinds of music, and I really do. And so I would say, if you've got something I need to hear, bring it. That's one of the ways I could stay current with my class. Students are never going to believe, and again, it's important that a teacher not try and be everybody's friend. You don't need a 60-year-old friend. I don't need an 18-year-old friend. We call that creepy. You know? But I can be concerned, and I can be aware of the world in which you live in. And teenagers are never going to believe that adults remember what it was to be young. It's just what happens. It's part of the teenage years, okay? And for the most part, adults are rarely going to believe that teenagers can know what it is to be an adult. Although most of the teenagers in my classes had lived much harder lives than I ever lived in my life. So, you know, they were much more adult in a number of ways than I was. Possibly still am. But I think in conversations back and forth, you can find what it is. But as a teacher, as somebody who's concerned, in the same way that I had to go out and find out about things about other cultures, I consider age different cultures as well. It's one of the things that I had to learn. I just recently was made very clear that I got into the lazy millennial stereotype and found out without hesitation how wrong I was with that. You know, when you look at who's making a difference, who's speaking out today, who supported the intelligent candidate in the last election, it was the millennials. It was the younger generation. It doesn't mean that I've given up on my generation, but I always have to be aware of it. So yeah, I think that's a key point. And the way to do that is through constant conversation and realizing that it changes. And so I was going to say I couldn't talk about Pokemon in my career, but I could because it had come back around, which tells you how long I taught. Trace?
Hi, definitely a question. Since you mentioned the administration a second ago, can you speak to, there seems to be so much worry on a grand scale or macro scale about this administration and everything, but can you speak to the light or the positivity or in a way that, because I think when people think of the administration, they're like, oh, well, they were going to explode. But from what I know about there is a lot of God saying
I hate this because Tracy sat and listened to me complain about it. So she knows I'm one of those, oh, woe is me. But the truth is that I believe we are beginning to see some incredible grassroots movement because of that. Because I can't look to my government to support me anymore. I know all I've got is you. Probably the best example of that is Standing Rock. That it started out with a group of Native Americans obsessed with the idea that, you know, I think one of the great memes I saw on Facebook was, you know, a picture of Arlington Cemetery saying, you wouldn't put a pipeline through here, why would you put it through a Native American secretly, you know? But what happened was, people from all over went out there, even veterans. And, you know, veterans are always this virtually untouchable group in the right-wing mentality. And so when they win, it's like, you gotta pay attention. And I think that made a big difference. But I think those kinds of things are what we're going to see more and more. I think the fact that we have a social media that not only shows the video of police shooting black men and black women, but the fact that when unbelievable verdicts come out in those cases, we're all made aware of it. And so there's more people who are willing to stand beside somebody. And I think that's a bright spot from this. That what we're finding in a reaction to, I truly think that what we're seeing in the Trump administration is the death throes of white culture, as we know it, of the accepted norm. And what's weird is, when you say that, the All Lives Matter group just leaps up, what's wrong with white culture? And it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. It's not, I got to turn in my white card somewhere. It means that I'm going to be part of America instead of all of America. It was one of the things that I had to learn along the way, that integration to me, when you talk to me about integration in 1980, I was all for it. Sure, come and be in my neighborhood and live like I do. Exactly like I do. I didn't want integration. I wanted assimilation into my culture. I was the board. It was the interesting piece that I talked about at our book read last Saturday about Coates' book, was I've come to realize I am the son of the Don. That white America is a mafia setup, and I'm the son of the Godfather. And I've got to find a way to shift that. And so I think the younger generation is doing that. My son is not accepting that title. He's very consciously rejecting that title, and he is choosing to integrate with other people of color rather than his kind. Does that make sense? So I think that's the positive that I see out of it, is that at that grassroots level, those things are happening. Anything else? Because there was no way in the world I was going to make it hour and a half.
Well, yeah, there was no way you had to. And if anybody has any other, if you don't just need to ask questions, we can.
Sure.
One,
I hope that it come out right. I think that, you're knowledgeable. I've learned a lot about you today. And I think it's important that we have people like you in the classroom teaching our student teachers. Because one thing I learned at my son's school is some of the teachers are not relatable. He's like, he goes to Swiss Creek. It's more diversity than it used to be. And when I was in a conference with him and other teachers, some of the teachers don't relate to the students. And I think it's important, like, when you're teaching, they have to have a passion for teaching. A lot of teachers have gotten out of that. And you can't teach, kids can't learn if they don't have a connection with you. They don't want to. If you don't understand where they're coming from, you can't relate to them, they're going to shut down. So I think that's important. And I think I've learned a lot of that from you, and I think that has a good impact on teaching teachers how to teach.
It is. I think it's absolutely important.
And I'm kind of blushing because it's just, I've seen it, like, the school system just go down.
Yeah.
It really has.
I think it is. It's key that teachers understand that the most important aspect of education is relationships. I used to teach, you had me when she was a senior. The whole theme for the senior year was relationships. Every book we read was about the key aspect of the relationships, because that's who we are. Is my relationship with my wife, my relationship with Justin, my relationship with you. That's ultimately who I become, is a combination of all those relationships. And so I need to pay attention to those relationships and be as intentional about them as I can be. I think that's how we change the neighborhood as well. I think it was Franklin, but it may have been somebody else, that said, it's hard to hate somebody you sit down and break bread with. That it's, Charles Turner is the one that really embedded that in me when I was going to Marygrove, was, he said, until we sit down and have a meal together, we're just fellow students.
You got to tell us the symposium she was running.
We did, Charles and I were having, Marygrove had originally been an all-girls Catholic school, which is one of the reasons why I went there. It was treated by the nuns who ran it still as if it was an all-girls white Catholic prep school. Okay? At the time I was there, it was 70% African American. And so there was this disconnect between the administration running the school and the student body. And so Charles and I decided my junior year there that we were going to run for student government and see what kinds of things we could change. And so we decided one of the things we would do would be to have a series of conversations. So we took a room one evening, it was a Tuesday night in Cadillac, and we just put flyers up and said, Bean and Turner are going to talk race, if you want to show up. You know. And the first night, about maybe 15 people showed up, people we knew. And we just sat and talked. That was all we did. We didn't have any plan or anything. We just talked about stuff. And I remember one of the things that was fascinating was Turner said, tell me something that drives you nuts about me, and I'll tell you something that drives me nuts about you. And so when I asked him, I said, what drives you nuts about me? He said, and at the time, I had a ponytail. He says, you know what drives me nuts about you? That. If your hair's in your eyes, cut it. He says, I got iron hair. I am never going to do that. And so it was interesting. One of the things that was really interesting about that was 4 days later we were talking about it. He said, you know what? Ever since I said it, it doesn't bother me. It's the power of conversation. So the second night we had it, we filled the room. We had people actually standing out towards the hall. So the third night we had it at the theater in Marygrove, and 200 people showed up, along with the president of the university. Because two guys sat down and had a conversation. That's the power of things that can happen. There are dynamic people in this room. No doubt about it. You can have conversations. You don't need to have an audience every time. Don't turn people away, because you have incredible perspectives that need to be heard and need to be shared. Anything else? Well, I thank you all for coming tonight. I would encourage you to go out and find people to talk to, especially in this season. What a great opportunity. You got 35,000 different holidays happening in the next 2 years. What a great chance for multicultural activity. And get gifts do that. So I would encourage you to do that. Thank you. Thank you, Donna, for this evening.